stuff is absorbed through your scalp into your body. It goes directly into your bloodstream. That also said you have fewer allergic reactions. We have clients in my San Diego location that are, gluten-free. I had never thought to create a product that wouldn't have gluten in it, but because she had a gluten sensitivity, this particular client caused me, when I was formulating and working with my formulators, to make sure, hey, I don't want gluten in this. This is still going to get into her bloodstream, even though this is a topical product applied to her scalp. Reduced water usage. Again, water shortages and finding clean water and different things with that. And it also is a filler. So we were sure to use the minimal amount of water in our products. And then, as I mentioned earlier, no harmful chemicals. As we're talking about sustainability in hair care, another thing was, as I mentioned, planet-friendly packaging. So for me, again, with Unveil, we used glass bottles that you can also refill, and we used recycled plastics. Also with our scalp brush, one of the things that I was really careful in picking was that this is a wheat stalk. So it actually will disintegrate and go back into the ground once somebody's done with it if they throw it away. And I think more and more brands are looking at that. I was reading some studies over the past weekend, and like L'Oreal, that's one of the most major cosmetic brands. They have a whole section now, and they're putting so much money into how can they be more planet friendly? How can they create cleaner products? With that is the accessibility of clean label hair care, transparent ingredients and practices. So again, for myself, we wanted to make sure it was cruelty-free, not tested on animals. I myself am a vegetarian, animal lover. And with the hair growth products that we were selling in my stores, I noticed a lot of them had shellfish in them or gelatin in the capsules that I would sell. Well, I don't want gelatin, that's animal bones. And I didn't want shellfish because we have clients that are allergic to shellfish, or for religious reasons, they don't want to use shellfish. So with this brand, I was really trying to be inclusive of all the different clientele that we see, because we're noticing that with fashion. We're noticing that with the sizing, with all, Skims and different brands. Everybody's going more diverse to hit more types of people so that we can include everyone. And that was where the vegan, cruelty-free came in. Again, also with the natural and organic, plant-based, we're using plant stem cells as our main ingredient. And that has some of the same efficacy as the synthetic ingredients that are out on the market. So why are we sacrificing potentially our health when there are so many options that are natural and organic that you can use, that you can still get the same results? And I think people are a little nervous about that, not understanding that you really can get a good efficacy. And you have to watch out for those harmful chemicals, because so many things, these additives and so forth, or for instance, fragrance, like when I was picking my fragrances for our shampoo and conditioner, that was something very important to me, was using something natural. And we're using essential oils. And even at that, you have to be careful, making sure that it's a clean practice. And finally, as I mentioned also a minute ago, was inclusivity in the beauty hair care space. Products that are designed for a diverse range of hair types, because everybody has such different hair, and there is fine hair, there's thick hair, but even people with all these different textures go through different types of seasons in their life. For instance, during COVID, we had a ton of clients come in with all different hair textures that were struggling with losing their hair from COVID, or stress. Stress is a big thing. And then also people are wanting more natural ingredients, like with hair straightening treatments. A lot of our clients are going back to that natural beauty look. And so they want their own hair to be as healthy as possible. They're paying attention to their scalp health now, which affects your follicle, because that miniaturizes and can cause hair loss. So all of these things together really make a cohesive beauty brand that is supporting not only our environment, not only the health of the clientele, but also includes everyone, that they feel like there's something for them in the brand.
Helena, thank you so much for an exciting and interesting presentation. I really appreciate you sharing your insights with us and with our audience. I'd like to follow up with a couple questions if I can, to kind of learn a little bit more about your insights. And the first thing I'd like to ask you is, in your presentation, you mentioned things like gluten-free products, vegan products, products that are inclusive for inclusive hair types. And I was just wondering, how will these types of different products impact the future hair care consumer? How will that future hair care consumer differ from the current one?
Yeah, great questions. And thank you again for having me. Um, I feel like she cares that the product works. That's a given, right? I mean, we're putting on, our hair serums and so forth. We definitely want the stuff to work. However, we're more aware of it's going into our body, as I mentioned, and we're more aware that what we eat and what we're putting into our bodies, and that's kind of the same thing. They also care about how it's made, where it's made. That's why it was super important to have it made in the US. That means my workers are in the US. Our products are coming from here, our labels, everything. I'm not exporting stuff in, which also is like a footprint, a global footprint for transmissions and all of that, kind of like how you go to the farmer's market because you're trying to stay local, keep the stuff from traveling far to get to you. So that was kind of my thoughts with some of that.
Interesting. Yeah, we do a lot of writing about things like carbon miles, and so I think that that's a
Yes.
really great point. Is that you can say that your product is made with sustainable ingredients or it uses sustainable recyclable packaging, but if that product is traveling from one continent to the other, that definitely
Yes.
has an impact on its sustainability, and it's a very good point to note. And so, do you expect that the future hair care consumer will expect or demand that from their products in the future?
Yes, as I was mentioning, reading that L'Oreal article, I mean, when
Mhm.
you've got one of the biggest brands in the world spending billions to make sure that they are hitting that market, because especially younger people like yourself, I mean, you guys pay attention to all of that. Like I talked to my daughter when I was creating all of this, who's 26. Would you buy this? What's important to you? My generation, we didn't look at that stuff. We didn't have the internet the same. We were still on dial up AOL, right? So we didn't have access to the information and the labels and what that stuff means. Now that I'm a formulator in this second part of my career, that's really important to me. When the lab would give me some of these names, I'm like, I don't know what this means. If this is actually on the label, how is the person standing at Target supposed to be able to understand what this is? Are they going to try to look everything up? It needs to be easy to read, easy to understand. And that's also happening in the food industry, right? With those, bars now and stuff, only 6 ingredients, stuff you understand. And that's coming over finally into the cosmetics. People really do care.
And so, with your breadth of experience in the industry, having, worked in stores as a formulator across all different parts of the supply chain, what advice would you have for companies that are looking to innovate in the hair care space in the near future?
Sure. I think the most important thing is to survey your potential demographic. You definitely want to build out that avatar of who that client is. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you'll be nothing to no one, right? I mean, you can't do that. You really need to find the clients where they are. And that was something I was very fortunate by having brick and mortar stores. As I was creating Unveil, I was able to survey the clients. So I think that's super important. And then also testing. So we did a lot of testing. We're doing consumer perception studies now, so that way you can see, hey, 80% of users said they noticed their hair was thicker, more manageable, etc. People want to see that it works too. They want that social validation, and that's a lot from social media. Influencers, I think, are starting to come a little bit away because they know we're all paying them to get them to say that our product's great, or we're gifting them. So they're catching on to that. Those big influencers, they know, if I don't know, Kim Kardashian says she uses X, she probably got paid. But they are still following the micro influencers, the small ones. So that's like, for us, that's what we're targeting, is 5-10,000 followers. They seem to be more engaged with their audience, and that they still trust them. And I think that's really huge. Getting that feedback in the beginning, it takes longer and it can get kind of frustrating, but you can pivot faster than once you order all of your product and then you're stuck because you didn't do all that stuff in the beginning.
And that is our time. I know it went quick, but we really sincerely appreciate your time with us today. So I want to again thank you so much for your time, Helena, and we look forward to hopefully speaking with you again soon. Next, we have a key